I'm pretty sure one of the lines Yaz said in this episode, I'm pretty sure she was speaking to true Doctor Who fans everywhere by saying to the Doctor, it's okay to be sad. Alright guys, gals, and everything in between, I'm here today to review for you Doctor Who, the New Year's special, Revolution of the Daleks. Some time has passed since the finale of Season 12, and the Doctor is on a planet that's a jail, and you can see on the walls that some etchings of how long time has passed, and it's a long time! And then, on planet Earth, nobody's favorite villain is back to say, hey, let's build Daleks. I was really hoping for this episode to be good. I quite liked the New Year's special, I guess, last year. Even though a lot of people didn't dig the special, the last special, I actually thought it was pretty fun. It was one of the stronger episodes of that season, if you want to count them a part of the season. And so, I was really optimistic. Even though I didn't review it on my channel because it just started to become a slog and get really depressing reviewing bad episode after bad episode of Doctor Who. And, I wanted to come back for the special because I was like, well, maybe they'll bring it back. So if you want to know my thoughts on the whole last season, with the exception of Spyfall, yeah, it fucking sucked. But that says nothing about this special. Maybe Chris Chibnall had something up his sleeve. You know, he's thinking about something. And no, he wasn't. This episode is just not good. I'm gonna get into spoilers. I realized I should probably warn you. So, if you don't give a shit about spoilers, you have been warned. This episode is more obsessed with making a political statement than it is making a good episode. Because when you watch the episode and you cut out the political diatribe that's in there, you really just kind of get a generic episode. Because the Doctor's on this prison planet for about 10 minutes, Captain Jack Harkness comes back and breaks the Doctor out of space prison. Well, Captain Jack Harkness is great. I loved seeing him back. It showed the staying power of some of these characters, where Yaz and Graham is the only one that's good of this current TARDIS crew, if you ask me, but just, they're all forgettable. And Captain Jack being here really showed that they haven't made memorable characters on Doctor Who since Bill. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm actually having a hard time reviewing this episode because I'm just kind of processing it all and I'm really upset as a Doctor Who fan. I've been upset at Doctor Who for some time because Chibnall just can't seem to make episodes work. But when he does, they're fantastic and I'm like, oh, wow! You did good, Chibnall. It's sad that as a Doctor Who fan, I'm excited when an episode's actually good now. With the political diatribe of this episode, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So, the guy that they already said was an allegory for Donald Trump is back. Nobody liked him. Even if you don't politically like Donald Trump, nobody liked this character. It was just so beating it over your head. So, they brought back, we'll call him Faux Trump. They bring back Faux Trump, and he's dealing with who will become the Prime Minister, and he's building Daleks to control and provide law and order against rioters and all of that, or as we call them in America today, peaceful protesters. You have that angle. Then we establish that the Prime Minister wants these Daleks for free, because why? Well, of course, she's going to possibly release his tax returns of Faux Trump and find out that he may not have been paying his fair share in taxes. Because when I'm being beat down by the 24-hour news cycle, when I turn on Doctor Who, a family program that's supposed to be science fiction escape, The last thing I want is for Chris Chibnall to be sitting there going, hey, guess what? I don't like Trump. This episode pisses me off. Okay, so yeah, you have that whole political diatribe. So yeah, now there's Law and Order security bots all over England, and the Doctor comes back. It turns out it's been 10 months, and the companions are all mad that the Doctor was gone for 10 months. And so I actually liked that dynamic because they felt abandoned by the Doctor. That was cool. And it showed the characters have more dimensions. They weren't just like, oh, you're back, Doc, let's just get going to it. No, they felt abandoned and damaged, and I was like, okay, that angle's good. You're doing good there. Chris Chibnall does do pretty well with human drama and that kind of stuff. Evidence of that is in Broadchurch, because Broadchurch is excellent. Watch Broadchurch. This episode has a lot of that going for it, where they get touched back on the post-traumatic stuff. When Captain Jack comes back, actually, one of the best scenes with the feeling abandoned is that Captain Jack and Yaz have a conversation in Osaka where they're talking about what it's like to kind of be abandoned by the Doctor, and how that was really hard because Captain Jack didn't know if the Doctor was coming back or not, and didn't. And so Jack really missed the Doctor, and it was kind of a really nice exchange. And Yaz is asking him about how he kind of coped with it, and he says, well, because he's one of the few who gets to travel with the Doctor, and not many people get to do that, so he just felt lucky for the time that he had. And that was an excellent scene. So it's like there's sprinkled greatness throughout all of this episode, and it all has to do with the human drama. And it made me actually like Yaz for about 2 minutes, because I'm not a fan of Yaz. I think her character is so bland and forgettable. And then she goes back to being bland and forgettable, and Captain Jack steals the show with every scene he's in. And in Osaka, they have a warehouse, and it turns out that it's a lab that they're cloning Daleks. And that scene was intense, and the cinematography was excellent with the lighting. It actually kind of felt like it was straight out of Russell T Davies' era. And that was kind of cool. Jack had to fight off some Daleks with Yaz, and that was all really cool. I enjoyed that with the episode. And Jodie Whittaker, she's not good as the Doctor. People always said, give her time, let her come into her own. Well, coming into her own, she just kind of comes off as not pathetic, but I can't take her seriously. She just doesn't have the gravitas. I'm just going to take a moment to go on a quick tangent. Graham was so painfully underused in this episode. He's just kind of there in the background bumbling as the old dude. And I'm like, but Graham was the only good character out of all of Chibnall's companions he's made. And so when Jack is going back and forth and all of that, and while he admittedly had a great scene with Yaz, Graham's just kind of there. And I'm like, Bradley Walsh deserves better than that. The Doctor devises a plan to stop the Daleks, and it's bring more Daleks and let the Daleks fight and kill each other, because the mutated Daleks wouldn't be pure, and unfortunately they bring Faux Trump along for the journey, and Faux Trump is just sitting there doing the I'm new to this companion babble, which is fine, admittedly, but he's just so annoying, and he's playing it so cheesy, and that's all dumb. And then Faux Trump ends up deciding he wants to ally with the Daleks to basically make him supreme leader of humanity. Honestly, one of the biggest mistakes they made was bringing in their guy who's like, yeah, this totally isn't Trump, but totally is. And they just sit there and whine about him. They whine about how annoying he is, and I think they meant it to be comedy, but we didn't like him from the last season that he was in to begin with. So why did you bring him back? Which is, again, sprinkled throughout moments that are actually pretty good. Then the Doctor shows up and sends them away in a pocket universe. They essentially just easy mode, get rid of the Daleks. I was sitting there like, man, you have Daleks now taking over Earth again, which also, humanity, I know that Doctor Who messes with their canon and their timelines all the time. But really, there are characters that are established in this that have memories of all of these events before it. And sure, maybe Yaz doesn't because maybe Yaz was too young, or whatever, I would let that go. But Graham, none of them are like, oh yeah, remember when the Daleks took over the world like 3 or 4 times? And Captain Jack was there, by the way. And Martha, and all of these people. And again, I'm willing to let it go because Doctor Who kind of says phooey with their canon all the time. It's just kind of the way the show works. So yeah, but either way, it's just... when there's enough annoyances, you start to want to nitpick like that, which makes the episode weaker. Whereas, if it was a better written episode, I would have completely ignored it. But I just kept sitting there going, really, the Prime Minister wasn't like, hey, remember when Harriet Jones, our previous Prime Minister, fucking died from these things? None of that, because obviously UNIT is there. All of these people are there who are tracking the Doctor. The Prime Minister even knows about the Doctor. Hey, shouldn't we get UNIT? Or, you know, oh, right, because they made the Brexit joke like a season or 2 ago where they're like, oh yeah, UNIT got disbanded because of government cutbacks because of Brexit or whatever, which yet again goes back to the show is being hampered by their woke leftist blue-haired SJW propaganda that's just shitting all over amazing properties. And I know I'm starting to get a little heated here, but goddamn, guys, can you lay off the CNN for 5 minutes and just make a fun episode? It's not that hard. Or in the words of Clark Griswold, hallelujah, holy shit, where's the Tylenol? That's how I was sitting there feeling, where I'm like, oh, right, that doesn't make sense, but you know, plot. And, of course, at the end, they say goodbye to Graham and Tossin Cole's character. I cannot believe I've never remembered his name. That's saying something when I've watched all of these seasons and specials. Holy shit, I can't remember his name. Ryan! He plays a guy named Ryan. Okay, so Ryan and Graham are leaving the TARDIS, and they announce it in kind of a heartbreaking and sad moment. Admittedly, it tugged on a few of my strings. I feel like the Doctor didn't get a proper goodbye with Jack. They just kind of... it ends. Like, they're just like, oh, yep, Daleks disappeared, and then it cuts to another scene, and you just hear an audio clip of Jack going, oh yeah, I'm gonna stay on Earth for a while, and make a clear connection to Torchwood, that's like, oh yeah, we're looking into some stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, and I was expecting the Doctor to be like, hey, you know, that kind of conversation that Jack had with Yaz would have been kind of nice to bring it back and have it with the Doctor, but, you know, then we would have had to, change the runtime and take out 1 or 2 scenes where they bitch about Trump for 5 minutes. So, can't have that. Can't have good story. So anyways, Jack's just out off the TARDIS now, and then they have their heartbreaking goodbye where Graham and Ryan are like, oh yeah, we're a family, blah, blah, blah. Goes back, Ryan's learning how to ride the bike again from that first episode. They see the ghost of his grandma, and he's all emotional about it, and then and they're like, hey, we have our little psychic papers, we could go save the world or whatever. Yeah, so then the episode ends, and I'm like, okay, it was a touching enough send-off. Would have liked a little more closure with some of the characters, but now we say goodbye to 2 of the most forgettable companions in Doctor Who history. Well, sorry. We say goodbye to one of the most forgettable companions in Doctor Who history, and Graham, who admittedly was good when they utilized him. This episode is a mixed bag to it's not very good. I don't like it. When the political stuff is out of it, I'm like, oh, I mean, it's fine, it's a generic episode. And then Captain Jack is so refreshing to see on screen. I'm like, God, I miss that man. Can he just be in it full time again, please? And so that was nice. Jodie Whittaker was yet again useless. And the rest of the episode, I'm honestly going to try and forget this. I'm gonna end this as petty as possible. Fuck you, Chris Chibnall. Can you just... BBC... stop making him showrunner. Get rid of him. Get rid of Jodie. And please stop addressing the timeless child. Wipe your hands with it and go, sorry, we fucked up. Let's move on and forget it ever happened. Do a hard reset, kind of like they did with David Tennant, where they just said goodbye to everybody. Or in Peter Capaldi's final season, where they said goodbye to everyone. And we're like, all right, here we go. Break it off. Just do it. Please, I know you're filming one more season with Jodie Whittaker at least. Please, just end it. This is getting painful as a fan to watch. So yeah, I hate this episode now, actually. I've changed my mind. I fucking hate it. Alright, fuck you, Chris Chibnall. Fuck you, BBC. What did you guys think of this dumpster fire? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got plenty more videos coming to you. Love you guys.